see everybody. We've had a very good week. It's been a very good week for freedom in the state of Wyoming. A lot of good decisions happened at the state Republican convention, and we'll highlight some of those as we go along tonight. We have several people coming up to do that. Oh, let's stand together. We're going to go to the Lord in prayer. Ask the Lord to bless our time together, and then we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Heavenly Father, we thank you. We thank you for your Son, Jesus. We thank you for freedom that we have in this nation, one nation under God. We thank you, Lord, for the liberty that we have. We thank you, Lord, for all things that you've given to us. Our rights, every privilege that we have comes from you. And so we thank you. So the government can't take it away. We thank you, Lord, and we give you glory for each person here. We ask you to bless them tonight. Help us to understand what's going on in town here, what's going on in the state. And Lord, just illuminate our hearts to the future and what we're to do. We're just here to serve, and we thank you. And we ask all this in the mighty name of Jesus. Amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated.
Okay, so I'm Ben Decker. I went on the resolutions committee at the Wyoming Republican State Convention. We had 2 days to put together this packet of 60 pages of resolutions and present it to the state GOP. Anyways, I want to thank Barb Luthi for helping with the county resolutions that we submitted to the state. She helped with a couple that did pass the state convention, which was to rescind the application for Article 5, and it was against a convention of states. In Campbell County, also Sweetwater County had resolutions against the Convention of States. Teton County had one in favor of the Convention of States. It's pretty interesting because I think if we open it up to that, then they will go in there and change other things besides what they promised or what they committed to changing. So it's, in my opinion, a bad idea to open it up and allow changes to the Constitution. So that is that one. There was another one that Barb Luthi also helped on, and that was it was the obscenity materials in the library. There's a state statute that exempts libraries from penalties for distributing obscene material. And we've all seen, I think, the obscene material in the libraries, in the school libraries as well. And this would repeal the portion of the statute that exempts libraries from penalties for that. So they would be able to be penalized for giving children the obscene material. Anyways, one thing about that is Charlie Anderson on the library board has already changed his strategy from saying, well, the library is exempt. Now his strategy is, well, they're not obscene. But I want you guys to know that that's up to you. That's up to the community. It's not up to Charlie Anderson.
Right.
So we decide what's obscene and what's not obscene. It's based on community standards. Then the other resolutions that I thought were pretty good that we passed were one that prohibits trans surgeries and hormone blockers on minors, and then there was also ones that keep men out of women's sports and keep men out of women's bathrooms and locker rooms.
Yes.
So, what's that? Oh yeah, I think it's. Anyways, I also want to thank Representative Chuck Gray, Representative Jeremy Haroldson, and Representative Pepper Ottoman. They were the chairman of the Resolutions Committee, and they did a great job helping us put this together and getting it ready for the GOP convention. And I think that's all I'd like to say. One more thing. I think we're really starting to resist the enemy's plan. And going forward, I think we need to catch up with them and pass them to where they're resisting our plan.
Yeah.
Good point.
Thank you.
Any questions for Ben? Yes.
Okay, Janet Nader, another delegate, and Ben Decker was awesome down up over there in Sheridan. I went through the Campbell County list of resolutions that the Campbell County Republican Party sent. We sent 21, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of the Campbell County resolutions made it into that packet. So Campbell County's setting a precedent there. So excellent work. And as for bringing that packet down to something reasonable, you guys did an awesome job.
Thank you.
And I have a little list.
Agreed.
Over, I talked with Ben already. And I'm Susan Sisti. I was a delegate and I was an alternate on the credentials committee. And I talked with Ben. He went over the fine points of our major resolutions. And Ben worked so hard. He put so many hours in this. So we're just really thankful for your work, Ben. And I just wanted to read a list of other resolutions that were passed and not discuss them, but they're things we're all concerned about, like CRT. The resolution against that passed. Removing us from the National Education Association passed. Recall county and state officials, is that correct, Janet? That one passed. I think it was for our local officials, because right now, we can't recall a governor or anyone because they passed a law. But we have a resolution against that now. Under the health category, we have a resolution against any type of Medicare expansion. We have a resolution for election integrity, for religious liberty. We have one for no forced vaccines or medical procedures. And that's just a few that we have that I thought everyone would be interested in that I wanted to mention. And Ben has the list if you want to talk to him later. Okay.
All those passed. I believe John Bear has a question.
Yeah,
Yes.
thank you. This is probably for Ben, but I heard great things. I was over in Credentials, great things on Ben's work over there, so good job, Ben. When you mentioned that Teton County had brought a resolution in favor of a Article 5 convention of states, in other words, do you recall what the vote was for or against that? And same for the resolutions to remove our convention of states statute.
I actually don't. There were subcommittees as well, and I wasn't on the subcommittee in that. The one I was on the subcommittee of was related to education, so I don't believe we voted on that. I think it was taken out during a subcommittee because there were multiple resolutions against it and only one resolution in favor of it. So.
Oh, another question.
Yes, hi. Was there any resolution about banning illegal aliens from residing in this state and taking our welfare?
It is here.
Yeah, I'll let you look at this book. There is an entire section on immigration, and I think there's some similar to that in that section.
And also, was there any resolutions addressing the rampant inflation, especially in our banking and all the interests that's going up?
I think there is. Let me look through that.
Okay.
There is also an economy section. I'll look through that and see if I can find one like it. I think there is, but I'll have to make sure. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next up is Barb Luthi, who is on the Platforms Committee.
Thank you. That picture is 2017. I was at my stepson's wedding,
You haven't changed a bit.
All right, I was on the Platforms Committee. Platforms Committee went really well. As you might know, we have, currently have 20 platforms on our Republican platform. You can go see them on the Wyoming GOP website. In our Platform Committee, I think we added 3. Janet can correct me. We added one related to, it was, I can't quote them exactly, but it was something about God's design, and in his design he created male and female. So there's something about there only being 2 sexes. That was added. I believe there was one added on election integrity. And Janet, what was the third one? Do you remember?
Medical. It had to do with medical.
I don't think we added that one in
It
the,
was up for vote.
well,
and then
it was up for vote, right, it was confusing the way it was stated. It was about medical freedom, but it was very confusing the way it was stated, and the platform. And then it got voted down. We didn't add that one. So then there would have been just 2 added to the platforms. So we try and keep the platform short. And then there was a little bit of wording change at the very bottom of the platform list, asking people to come join us, if they agree with most of our platforms. But platforms went very well. Janet was our secretary, taking great notes. I'm trying to think who ran it.
Chip Nyman
Bill Biden.
and
That's right.
Bo Bateman.
Right, Chip Nyman and Bo Bateman ran the Platforms Committee. Any questions on the platforms? Platforms is one of the easier ones to do.
Janet, do you have anything to share?
No, platforms basically stayed the same. We emphasized the men are men and women are women aspect of it, but I forgot to bring the paperwork.
Right, and I didn't bring it either. And we kept in, but made it shorter, that marriage is between one man and one woman. Really, so very, very few changes, which as it should be, because platforms are timeless principles that should not change.
So the majority of the platforms stayed the same. There was a few little minor verbiage changes in a couple of them, and we added 2 or 3. So it's basically the same. Should still be able to put it on a 1-page brochure.
Correct.
Were any taken off?
No,
No.
none were taken off.
All
There
right.
was challenges on that because some counties wanted to combine some, but the
Right.
overall group was keep this thing the same and keep it concise.
Yes. And we did that. Good, okay. So is anyone talking about the bylaws committee?
No, because they're not here,
They're not
neither
here.
person. No.
I'll just say a little bit.
Okay.
Bylaws is always interesting. And the one controversial bylaw that did end up being passed and put into the bylaws was a conflict resolution or procedure for conflict resolution. And you'd have to read through the whole, you don't get a whole lot of time when you're voting on these things, so you don't really have time to think about the pros and cons of all of it. You depend upon your people that are in your bylaws committee. But that was the most controversial one. I think that was passed and included in the state bylaws.
I did read that.
Did you?
Yes.
Okay,
And it was good.
okay.
Barb, was that the one that would prohibit lawsuits?
Yes.
Right, it had all to do with lawsuits and how to resolve that conflict and who pays for what, I believe. Because the state party really has taken on several lawsuits.
This is Janet Mader again. That was an arbitration aspect to the bylaws, and the state party had already passed a resolution on that in January. It has to do with the lawsuits that have been hitting them, and who's gonna pay for that lawsuit when we win and they lose. So that was the aspect of it.
Okay. And I think one of the other things that I remember on bylaws is there was a bylaw that was passed that basically said the counties need to follow what gets passed at the state level. Because in our state bylaws is also bylaws referring to county operation. And there is a change to how we would have our central committee. The chairman, vice chair, state committee man, state committee woman, and now the treasurer and the secretary will all be elected by the central committee, by the precinct people. Now in the past, this county, those folks, unless they were precinct people, they did not vote as part of the process. But in these bylaw changes, they changed it to where now the executive committee does now get to vote as members of the central committee. So that will be a little bit of a difference in how we operate here at our county. And I do have more information when we get to it on precincts and things like that.
Can you stay where you are?
I
Kyle,
can.
come on over here. I just want to make introductions too, so you know who works with this organization here. This is Barb Luthi, she's our secretary. Lyle Austin's our president,
Feel like
and I
I'm
don't know
anointed.
what I am, but I just run around for these guys, so that's all. Lyle.
You're our promoter.
Pastor Ed is our go-to person. He just does a fantastic job. Along with his wife Susan, they do a great job keeping this together, keeping us informed, and it's great.
I get Priscilla has a question.
I'm gonna try to make everybody stand.
Well, I'm one of those soft voices too. When we have a change in chairman, like we did this last time, the secretary and the treasurer changed. Are they elected by the precinct people, or like Heather and those people, they just choose who is going to have those positions?
In our bylaws, the old bylaws, the chairman was able to appoint the treasurer and the secretary. But now under the new bylaws, as passed at the state, they will be elected by the central committee. Which brings me to the point there, our state committee man, Tom Lubnow, threw down his name tag and said he quits and sent in an official resignation letter to the chairman, and we will be elected.
That's the appropriate response right there.
So the central committee will be electing a new state committee man. The state committee man does not have to be a precinct person. It can be anyone registered in Campbell County. So if you're interested, throw your hat in. Your term would end at the end of this year. March, oh yes, it would end in March actually.
March of 2023.
Yes, 2023. All right, cool.
Any other questions for Ms. Barb?
More good news.
So, Pastor Ed told a joke at the beginning. I just got to do this. I have a cousin, lives in South Dakota. He decided he was going to raise bees, so he went and bought 12 bees. went to pick them up and there were 13. He says to the beekeeper, why 13? He says, oh, that's a freebie.
Goodness. Excuse me for just a minute.
Don't give up your day job.
Before our candidates come up, I have Mark Hecker here, who wants to organize a protest about open borders. Mark, would you like to come up and just... There you go. Jacob Dalby is running for Campbell County Commissioner at large. Thank you for Jacob. Go ahead.
Thank you guys, and thanks for the great picture of me. So I'm running for county commissioner. As we've seen in the past, Campbell County commissioners are constantly applying for federal grants. I mean, they're approving them every meeting. The one that has me most lost for words would be their $11.3 million one they're wanting for their industrial park. And they keep saying, well, these federal grants have no ties. Nothing's going to happen with that. There's no such thing as free money. So I highly oppose federal grants. And I also oppose tax dollars being used for lobbyists down in Cheyenne or any lobbyists in general. So valuation. In 2021, coal only accounted for about 51% of the assessed valuation. So if you follow the coal trends, the assessed valuation fluctuates with the amounts of coal that is sold in Campbell County. Coal Creek mine has already started shutting down its operation. They've been starting to reclamate theirs. Peabody has reported a $119.5 million net loss so far in 2022. So as we know, the assessed valuation is going to go down. From 2020 to 2021, we had a loss of $850 million loss in our assessed valuation. So in 2020, the county collected $254,758,473 in taxes. 2021, they collected $171,318,815. So in 2020, a mill was worth $4,242.15. In 2021, it was worth $2,844,646.16. So you see where, as the mill's going, that, or as the assessed valuation is going, the mill levy drops. Our county budget in 2020 and 2021 was $114,576. Our 2021-2022 budget was $109 million. So where'd the extra $140 million from 2020 go? It just goes into their slush fund that they blow on God only knows what, and we probably don't want to know. So President Calvin Coolidge said, collecting more taxes than absolute necessary is legalized robbery. And I told that to the commissioners at the last meeting, and evidently they were just fine with legalized robbery. I'm not.
Ooh.
A lot of people have been saying they've been noticing the property taxes have already started going up about $100, $200. That has nothing to do with the college yet. So you can just imagine what that's going to look like once that new college tax hits you. And they have to have their budget in by the end of July. As far as the reason the increase in your taxes is right now, according to Troy Clements, is all to do with the high market and the houses right now. I also don't believe in beautifying the county, so to speak, with these statues. Most of them are ugly anyways. I don't know if anyone has seen the statue below Gurley Overpass of the naked woman. I don't understand where they got that one. Or the spider down by the library. instead of the beautification of adding statues, how come nobody just goes and picks up the ditches out with all the garbage? Can you imagine if you could see on the Campbell County website as the cleanest county in the nation? Imagine how many people we could bring into the county with that. So my family's been in a two-year fight with the county, and I've heard of a lot of people fighting the same fight that we've been fighting, where the county comes in, they're changing addresses, naming private roads, which is way out of their authority. But we haven't given up the fight, and we've been fighting them constantly. And the point I'm trying to make with this one is, I'm starting to believe that it's a county policy to just lie to the citizens. We've been lied to throughout the whole thing. We were told we weren't informed about the meeting because they knew we would disagree with them and they didn't want any disagreement at their meeting. And we've got that on recording, and the commissioners don't seem to care too much about that. We've also had 3 of the commissioners say they would get this taken care of for us by now, and still nothing. And at the last commissioner meeting, the commissioner stated that 7 of the full-time elected officials wanted pay raises. And that was also a lie, because Paul Wallen was there at the end and said he did not ask for a raise, never has, and never did, never will. So just another example of the commissioners lying.
But, sorry, Paul makes how much, 100,000 a year?
Paul makes 100,000 a year, but he was just bumped up to 115,000. The county attorney makes
That's
100.
coroner.
What's it? Yeah.
That's coroner.
Yeah, and the county attorney was just bumped up to 145,000, and the other 5 full-time elected officials were bumped up to 135,000. And I did request that they just look into cutting their pay by 50% to match the average wage in the state of Wyoming. They did about 5 or 10 minutes worth of why they think that everybody needs to be paid $100,000 to $145,000. It was unbelievable. You got to watch the last meeting. And I also believe we need to get out of the Wyoming County Commissioners Association. It's a terrible liberal organization. It's just as bad as the American Library Association is. And I don't think county elected officials should have any county credit cards. The charges on their cards are just unbelievable. And we're talking $2,000 to $3,000 rooms at hotels. Now that's, I imagine, probably 3-4 nights, but I know I couldn't rack up a $3,000 bill at a motel. Any charges, I believe, that are done for traveling within reason for the county should be a reimbursement basis.
Should be a limit.
Well, there's supposed to be a limit. They're supposed to stay at a budget-friendly hotel or motel, but if you look at their credit cards, you'll see some of them like lodges and resorts as well.
That should come out of their, if they want to sleep there, that should come out of their personal money then.
You would think so. Of course, we all remember the county commissioners taking away our public comment at the commissioners meeting because they just don't care what we the people have to say. And there's 23 different boards within the county that the commissioners are over. And we have to get fiscally responsible people to sit on these boards, but that's never going to happen until we get fiscally responsible people to sit in the commissioners' seats. And as Representative Fortner always says, being a conservative is not something that you choose to be, it's how you were raised. And that's how I believe. So if anyone has any questions.
Sounds to me like they've been paying attention to the federal government.
That's absolutely correct.
Jacob, why is the county employees not using the same thing as the federal per diem and federal lodging rates, which the state employees follow? Why can't the county do that also? Thank you.
I'm not quite positive on what the state's policies are on that, but the county is supposed to follow certain standards when they travel. I can't remember if they have 1 or 2 meals they're allowed. and then you're allowed your fuel costs, a reasonable motel or hotel, but it's not followed and it's not enforced. And I also have flyers and yard signs over there if anybody's interested in them, or that way you can call me or email me or text me or anything if you have any further questions.
Yeah.
I was wondering why a lot of the county minions start at $12 an hour when Walmart pays $18.50 and they're making $135,000.
Well, that's a good question, because my suggestion of in cutting their pay down to about 50,000 would be using that money as either raises in their department or as bonuses in their department for people that actually deserve it, people that are coming in on time or showing up early and staying late. I mean, that's how the private sector kind of works, is you give the people that are working the hardest the biggest bonuses to keep them coming in and keep them working.
Okay, I've got a statement. I became political 1980, age 23. Was born into a liberal household. I did a conversion myself. Yeah, because I was using some common sense in lifestyle, because the other lifestyle wasn't working. And since then, I've had an impact on a lot of other people. So you don't have to be born into a political lifestyle, I guess you'd call it. You can actually let other people and their influences guide you in the future. But the thing that really had an effect on me was the night that I accepted Christ. That was the turning point. I don't know how you can be a Christian and say that life choice is like abortion, deciding what gender you're going to be, same gender marriages. I don't know how you can profess to be anything if you're a Christian and allow that stuff to happen. That's my statement.
Could you stand?
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
Will I be able to vote for you? I live about 5 minutes from here in this church.
Yeah, as long as you're a Campbell County resident and you're a registered voter, you can vote for me.
Oh, good, okay.
And I'm also the only one running for commissioner that's requesting to cut the commissioner's pay. I'm not doing it because I want to make the money. I'd like to see their pay cut to about $18,000 a year. It's not that I'm rich. I do not have a lot of money. I work about 16, 18 hours a day, but I don't need the extra money, and I also don't need the health insurance. I think they should get rid of all of the health insurance to elected officials. I think they should have to foot that bill 100% themselves if they're wanting it. So, all right, well, I'll turn it over to Abby or Sue, and I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it too. All right, we're gonna have Abby Angelos come up. She's running for House District 3.
Patriot said, I'm Abby Angelos, and I am running for House District 3, which is Eric Barlow's seat. He's vacating it. So some of you will probably be in my district, most of you may not. It's kind of an interesting district. It includes Wright, and I live west of town. So it's a very really large district. But I don't have my thing, so I'm just going to read it off if you don't mind. I am pro 1A and 2A. So thank you guys for all the warm welcome. Everybody that I came in was just like so nice, so I appreciate that. Pro God and pro life, pro family, pro freedom. I think what really started me was 2 years ago, everything that went on, and just knowing how our freedoms were attacked and taken away from us, stripped from us. And it just, that mom in me, ooh, I got really angry. When they started making our kids wear masks, I was furious. I was one of the ones pounding on every principals. I was on the phone with them or at the office. My kids were ones who refused to wear them. So it was just something that I just thought, we live in America. How can they shut us down, make us wear masks? And the very thing I asked, I would say it was summer of 2021. I even called the school district. I'm like, are they gonna make our kids get vaccines? So, and I was told, oh, that's nonsense. They won't do that. And I thought, they made our kids wear masks, and that was nonsense, right? So it just became something that I was like, I was so angry for 2 years. So kind of funny, this came up, and John Bear approached me and said, hey, have you considered running? And I said, my husband and I have joked on and off about running, and just not happy with what was going on. And I prayed about it, and God told me to do it. So unfortunately, I begged him no. He told me I needed to do it. So one thing that I'm a third generation Campbell County resident, born and raised here. My husband and I own a business here, and that business is a gun business, so I'm very pro-2A, if you can imagine. My husband worked in the oil and gas industry for 17 years, lost his job when COVID hit and the oil fell out. So it became where we had this side gig in the garage, and we needed to take it full time. So we've experienced booms, busts, so I'm very pro-energy because I know what it's like. And I know a lot of our coal miners have lost jobs, but I know our oil field has too, and a lot of times they're overlooked. So I will definitely support that, because without our energy industry, we are going to lose Wyoming. Well, Campbell County, wherever Campbell County goes, the state's gonna follow. That's our income, it's our revenue, and it's so important. And so many of you, I'm sure, are either employed by the energy industry or it's a ripple effect. You know how that goes. My husband's business, it's a ripple effect. If people don't have jobs in the energy industry, they don't have money to spend. So it's definitely something that you can get kind of fearful. And for my kids' future, it is imperative that we do something. And it's something that I want to make sure, around here, everybody's always scared. Every 4 years, it's like, oh man, what's going to happen to our jobs with the next administration? And I want to make sure that we have a future for Kent County, for sure. Definitely, we need to reduce taxes and reduce our spending, right? We were just talking about the property taxes going up. And that's something that I think there was even a bill that went through on property tax acquisition, which would be great, right? You pay the taxes on the value of the home at when you purchased it. And with so many people moving in, especially us being a state that is pro-life and very conservative, we have a lot of people moving in. And so that's just driving our property values up. So that's really huge. We need to do something. We need to do something in education, because if we don't, our overspending is going to kill us. So I am very frugal. I'll say frugal. If you saw the vehicle I drove, you would think that I'm very frugal. So my husband always teases me. He's like, you're a really good conservative, because I never want to change vehicles. And I just feel like we can live within our means. And that's extremely important. I'm for traditional family values. Marriage is between a husband and a wife. You do have the choice. You get to choose. We serve a God of choice. But I will stand for those traditional values. One of the bills that I'm concerned of that's went through legislation and was killed on the floor was the Fairness in Women's Sports Act. I have 3 girls that all play sports, and I don't want them competing against somebody that can out-compete them because of their body makeup. So that's really important to me. Election security, anybody? Huge, important. I am thankful that we passed a voter ID law, but we need more. We absolutely need more. And I think if you've seen 2,000 Mules, you can agree. I don't know if anybody has seen it. I know we always hear America first, but I want to keep Wyoming first. Wyoming is so important. The future of it for our kids is important. So my campaign manager and I were talking about this, like Wyoming first. We can have America first, but we need Wyoming first. We, as a state, we need to do something. We have such a great, maybe small group of legislators in there that are really conservative, and we just need more. We need more people protecting us from bad bills and helping to write good bills to protect our future.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll open it up if anybody has any questions.
I actually wanted to say something myself, even though I'm just the mic person. We were talking about your kids in school with the masks and everything, and at my school, I'm a senior in high school now, but I was with the masks and everything last year when I was a junior, and it got to where so many kids stopped wearing their masks. We either wore them under our chin or not at all, that the teachers just gave up on yelling at us, and none of us got expelled or anything like they threatened that they would.
Power in numbers, right?
Yeah.
We the people. My daughter goes to Thunder Basin, and January, when he came back from Christmas break, they just stopped wearing them. And are you going to put 1,500 kids in detention? Nope. And that's what it takes. You know, courage. And high school kids showed it more than anybody, honestly.
That's because they're fearless.
They really are. You know, sometimes that young, don't give a care, don't care what the repercussions are. We need that.
This is an important seat too. This is the seat
Yeah.
that Eric Barlow holds right now. So, you know, this is a very important, this is an important run.
We need to flip it.
Yes, absolutely. Go ahead, John.
And we'll be running again.
Along those lines, Abby, could you tell us who you're running against?
Man, you guys are like on the same brainwave. I will be running against Rusty Bell, who is current county commissioner. So, yeah. Thank you.
And I noticed you didn't mention
Stand up,
something.
please.
And there's something you didn't mention, and I just want to highlight it so that people know you, because when I heard who your father was, I knew that we can trust you. It's Pastor Marty Crump. And so I just want to thank you for running, and we'll be praying for you, and we know you are the right candidate.
Thank you. Yes, I was pastor's kid since I was 5, most of my life. So you can't escape that guy. I'm sure you've been to a funeral. Most of you know me in here, but if you don't, you know him from a funeral, I'm sure.
Hi, Abby.
Hi.
Prior to World War II and throughout World War II, there were numerous countries that actually produced fuel of all kinds with coal because their oil markets dried up. We're sitting on millions of tons of coal. Is it possible for companies like Peabody or a few other coal companies, and if you can do something about it, talk to them about looking into a feasibility study to get fuel from coal?
I don't know much about fuel from coal. I know we power our homes with it. Most of our energy is derived from coal. Our power grid's dependent on it. But I will take that consideration when we meet with them, for sure.
Abby, do you mind if I answer that
Absolutely.
question? Yeah, that's a great question. And there are a lot of uses for coal, and it's all about the price. As long as the price of oil is cheaper than converting coal into oil, and it's readily available. Now, we have a president that's trying to make it not readily available, but he's doing the same thing to coal. So coal prices are up. I think we're over $30 a ton right now, which is about 3 times, or a little more than 3 times normal. Oil is $107 a barrel. So when that differential becomes economically feasible, the technology's already been accomplished, as you mentioned, during the time frame of World War II. And a lot of that was necessity. You couldn't get oil in certain parts of the world because of the war. And so if I just think it's ridiculous that we have a president that's keeping us from getting at those resources that would make the middle class a lot stronger. I think he's trying to destroy that. Thank you.
Definitely by
Thank you for letting me
design.
interrupt.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely by design. I mean, we wouldn't have an administration that was trying to decimate the American way of life, economy, or anything, would we? So,
I just have a comment.
yeah.
When it comes to coal, we have one of the world's most efficient plants out north of town. It produces 400 megawatts. That seems like a lot of megawatts. A wind generator produces 0.9, if my memory serves me right, 0.9 megawatts. In Rock Springs, near Bridger, they've got 4 units sitting down there. They produce 2,600 megawatts. They're wanting to pull number 1 unit down, but they can't, because if they do that, there's going to be brownouts and blackouts all over the nation, especially the western and southwestern part of the country. They are not going to keep up with the requirements, the increased requirements per year for power. And you can't take a 0.9 megawatt energy producing device and push it to California. It dies between here and there. And the authorities know this. They can't shut these plants down because they need big power to push little power. And that's the reason why the coal mines are selling incredible amounts of coal right now. Coal Creek is shutting down, but they've been planning to shut that down since the place was built. I was part of the construction down there. There's been a couple of other mines that have gone through the same thing. So I'm here to tell you that coal's around for a while. It ain't going away.
Yeah, all those electric vehicles that they want, you know, what do you think's gonna power them?
Coal.
I know we're talking about coal. I would like to talk about the wind and the solar panels. I think that should be stopped. Number one thing that just really ticks me off is that when those windmills break down, where do they bury them? They bury them at the dump in Casper. And I don't understand why they can't take it back where it originated from. If it was China, take it to China, give it to them. If it's the East, take it back there, give it to them. Everything is caustic, especially for the sun, the solar panels, they're caustic. So they're not good for our ground either. So when they go back, where they're going to bury them? Probably at the Casper dump. And I think that should be stopped.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, we have to subsidize it to even, for it to even work, you know. We don't have to subsidize coal or oil.
As you all know, one thing leads to another. I got to try to be concise here, but my electric bill, I use $23 electricity, but they charge me $98 for some kind of administrative fees and stuff. Now, that's, once upon a time when I used $23, it billed me $23. But this whole thing about energy is based on a lot of false assumptions. Now, the billing thing, that's just greed and corruption. But the whole thing about energy, climate change is caused by the sun. The big heater in the sky has these cycles. It ain't got nothing to do with carbon dioxide, which is called plant food. The plants give off oxygen that we breathe. Photosynthesis is a good thing, and carbon dioxide ain't bad, but that's a big fight. They're pushing this climate change like it was real, and anybody with any modicum of knowledge knows that it is not real. And we need to give them back, like the lady was saying, we need to give them back what they're giving us in spades.
Are there any questions for Abby? We're getting a lot of statements, which I'm sure will help you.
Absolutely,
But,
I mean, you gotta listen to the people,
Are there
right?
questions?
The reason why there are statements being said is because you are actually bringing thoughts to their minds, and that's a good deal. The other thing is we've got Barb wants.
To talk about precinct.
Okay, so we should let her do that.
Yes.
And Abby, did you get everything?
I have these questions, you can go to my website, I have cards, but it's voteforabby.com, super simple.
Thank you, Abby.
I just wanted to mention about,
Or we could just use the, thank you. So the camera can hear you.
yes, I just wanted to mention about precincts, open offices. As you know, we just went through redistricting. So your precinct might have changed from what it was before. You can go onto the Campbell County website, go way down to the bottom, I believe, look on elections map, and put in your address and see what precinct you are. For example, Kim up here, she was in my precinct 1-1, now she's in precinct 117. She's out in Heritage Village, so they changed some of those subdivisions around. Also in my precinct 1-1, we were about 350 registered Republicans, and they've consolidated some other precincts in with 1-1, and now we have 644 in our precinct. So please, before you do anything, make sure you know what precinct you're in and if it has changed or not. I have over there, Colleen, is just a real quick and dirty map of the precincts and where they're located. You can look at it over there, take a picture of it with your camera, or go onto the county website and look. But that will give you a general idea of where your precinct is. And also over there, if you're on the John Patriot email list, I can send these with John Patriot. But there's a list of the new districting precincts and the old precincts. And in that precinct, like I have precinct 1-1, I'm in Ward 1 and House District 53, Senate District 24, and it says how many precinct positions will be open in that precinct. So 1-1, there will be 6 open precinct positions, 3 men, 3 women. So take the time to look at that, to know who your House District rep would be, and your Senate District rep, and how many open positions there are, in case you would like to run for a precinct committee man position, committee man, committee woman position. Yes, Jen?
And some of those precincts now have more openings.
Yes.
You need to check your precinct, because some of them, especially in the city, they bumped up. So there may be 1, 2, 3 positions there, men and women.
Exactly, because in precinct 1-1, as I said, we had 352 registered. Now we have 644 Republicans registered. We did have 1 committee man, 1 committee woman. Now we have 3 committee men, 3 committee women. So take note. Yes, John?
Barb, could you explain how the Frontier Republicans were able to take over the Central Committee and we got the likes of Tom Love now as our state committeeman?
Yes. It all ebbs and flows. We had, when Vicki was committee, or the chair, there were a lot of open positions as precinct committee men and women. And being the chair and having a good, solid, conservative executive committee, we appointed a lot of people into those precinct positions. So we were able to basically swing the party a little more conservatively. Then when the elections, the Frontiers got all upset about the sales tax vote, And that's kind of when the Frontier Republicans said, oh, we're gonna take back our party. They were the party of taxes. And so they rallied and started calling people, getting people that were pro-tax, and had them get their name on the ballot. And as you well know, a lot of times people will go to the voting booth and they'll see a name there, they're the only ones running, so check, that's who they're voting for. Because a lot of the conservative ones, we didn't get our names on the ballot. So therefore, a lot of the Frontiers got voted in as precinct people. Now the party is about 2/3, a little more liberal. And now we have to change it again. Which leads me to my next little handout. That is the sign up to be a precinct committee man, committee woman. And really one of the most important jobs of being a precinct person is when there are vacancies, like in commissioner's position, treasurer, a lot of the county positions, if they are held by people that are Republicans, it's one of the duties of our party to nominate 3 names to send to the commissioners for them to choose from. And we have had to do that quite a few times here in the last 5-6 years. We've had a lot of vacancies. So that is a key duty of a precinct committee man and committee woman. Okay, how do you get your name on the ballot? Sign up is May 12th through May 27th. This is the application. It just makes sure what your name is, what precinct you live in, your address, contact information. It costs nothing to get your name on the ballot for a precinct committee man, committee woman. You just need to make the commitment. And if you do want to get signed up or want to run and you want more information, or just let me know, or Susan and Ed know that you're wanting to run. And if, John Patriot, if we support you, we're gonna put you on our list to say, yes, vote for these people when they're on the ballot. So it's key to get your name on the ballot. That is key now to getting voted as a precinct committee man, committee woman. But I love to tell the story how I first got on as a precinct committee woman. It was back in 2014. Roy Edwards came up to me and he said, Barb, I bet if you write your name in as a precinct committee woman and I write your name in as precinct committee woman, I bet you'll get it. And he was right. I got in 2 votes. That's all it took. But it's not like that anymore because people get their names on the ballot now. It's really a true race for that position. And I think also the other thing is we're making a list of, it's a list of the positions that are open that we'll be voting for in 2022. Yeah, it is coming up. And we're just making a list of the people that are running so we know. And there's a lot of positions open, even school board, county commissioner, sheriff. I've only seen 1 name out there for sheriff. Don't know anything about them yet, but
You mean 1 plus the incumbent?
I don't know if Scott Matheny's running again.
I've been told he is for sure.
Oh, okay, so he might be running again. So, and the other one that I've seen signs on is a Janie Highland. Huh? Janae Highland. Don't know anything about her. But we need to find out about these candidates before we vote for them for sure. So anyway, any questions on any of that?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
my wife and I just got letters from the county clerk showing that we've got a reassignment from where we used to have our voting, like the county courthouse on Gillette. I have to drive 6 million miles out to Camplex. And that's the way it is, I guess.
So do you remember what precinct it says you were in now? Okay, you need to go back and look at that letter, very
Yeah, sure.
important.
I'm not gonna
Yes.
get rid of it.
Right, but what I have heard from a few people that those that have changed precincts, you might be getting a notice that your precinct has changed. Yes, John?
Barb, would he be able to vote at the county building if he voted early?
Yes,
can
if
do
you
an
vote
absentee
early,
ballot.
and when does the early voting start? July 7th or something, somewhere in there. You can vote down at the county courthouse
Oh, good.
in the early voting time frame.
Okay.
One thing too about the precinct numbering, like I've said, mine is 1-1, and it goes all the way to 26-1. So if you have a 1 in your district, that means you're in the city limits. If you have a precinct like 2-1, that means you're in the county. And this year there are 37 precincts, and there are 144 precinct positions.
And Barb,
Yes, ma'am.
currently there's 94, so understand the big bump up.
Right,
And
currently there are 94, yes.
Do you remember what we had before? The last time we had about 100 and something. So this is the highest number of precinct members Campbell County has ever had.
Right, it was 116, and then it dropped to 94. Now it's back up to 144. That's a lot. Okay, any other questions?
Is there a time limit on how long you've been a resident of Campbell County?
Not for precinct committee person. I think one of the requirements, qualifications for holding office. Qualified electors of the party must reside within the precinct. Doesn't give a date or how long you have to have been there. And it talks about a person convicted of a felony probably cannot, or
Good there.
they have to get their voting rights back. Let's see, precinct committeemen and committeewomen elected at the primary are not required to file a statement of contributions and expenditures. So you don't have to do any of that fundraising, reporting, and whatnot for this position.
Thank you.
You just have to be a registered Republican.
Registered in that precinct, yes.
But you have to be
Registered Republican in that,
Republican, that's what it is.
yes, yes. Any other questions?
Well, I just have a comment. I've been working on it's an unconfirmed voter guide, because I'm trying to get the names of the people that are gonna sign up for precinct and other positions, so I know the precinct is covered, and then we'll start calling people to get this filled out. So if you're gonna run for precinct, would you just put your name on here if you know your precinct number? And if not, my husband's good at helping with that. And also, if you look at the list, we have some people that are not conservative, that are running for some very high offices in town. We need somebody to run for mayor, we need city council, we really need a lot of people.
Yes.
And so, for such a time as this, I encourage you to run for something. And put your name on the list so we get an idea that we've got conservatives signing
We
up.
need to get that done before the next meeting.
Yeah, we don't have another John Patriot before, this is the last meeting.
Yeah.
Right, and the other thing too that you can do if you want to check into some things, you can always reply to the John Patriot email and say, hey, I'm wanting to run, and what precinct, and just let us know what you're wanting to run. The John Patriot email is ccc@agenda21@gmail.com. We made that email in 2012. That's what's Campbell County Citizens Against Agenda 21. You've all heard of Agenda 21, right? Okay. Yeah, now it's 2030, right?
Oh, I just wanted to say, I was one of those that Vicky Kissick was going through the rolls and said, Priscilla, I think you ought to run for council person, or whatever you call it. Precinct. And I just want to tell you, it's not scary. It's fun to do, you don't ever have to, I don't know, if you are afraid of being, out in the public or whatever, it's an easy thing to do, it's not scary, it's actually a lot of fun, so I would recommend you do it.
Good job, yes, yes, it has been fun, eye-opening. Don't worry about not knowing Robert's Rules of Order or things like that. You get the hang of it. The more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it, the more you learn, and you have fun.
So this is an easy way to know the John Patriot Agenda 20, or the email for John Patriot is I think we've got a list over here you can sign up, and we add those names to the email, and then as meetings are being planned, you get sent out a message. So once we have you on the list, you can have us on your list. That's kind of a sales plug right now. So if you don't have your name on the list, get it on there so we know who you are, and we can send you out notices also. And again, if you want to put your name in or any candidacy, give us an email to that email site, and we'll fix you up.
Thank you, Lyle. Thank you, Barb. Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Abby, for being here tonight. We have several legislators here, John Baer, Troy McEwen, Bill Fortner, I saw him. Oh, he's over there next to Jacob. They're here to answer any questions. And we thank you for coming tonight. Please get your name on a list. We need you. We need you. I get on my knees. We need you. And thank you for coming tonight. God bless you all. Thank you.